Hey everybody, welcome back to Video Game Mess. So, taking a fun and exciting episode for you guys today, because I am taking another look at the Street Fighter 3 Third Strike decompilation project. Last time we talked about it, I was playing the work-in-progress PC port, but now I am playing Third Strike on a PlayStation Portable port by Demis98. That is with two M's, not Dennis. And honestly, I think this might be my new favorite way to play Street Fighter 3 Third Strike. If there's anything wrong with this port whatsoever, I am not a good enough Street Fighter 3 player to actually see it or be able to feel it in the controls. This is the biggest of big decomp energy. We're going to have a lot of fun with it today. And big credit to the dev for notating and even including different rendering modes as well as scaling modes so you can get exactly the screen you want on something like PlayStation Portable. I went with native and then just scaled it again in Resolve to make sure that everything was looking correct but was filling the screen. Before we get too far involved though, do me a huge favor, go down below, hit like and subscribe, and hit that notification bell. Definitely helps us out. And if you feel so inclined and want to support the channel, I got a Patreon link down below as well. And honestly, having one more incredible way to play one of the best 2D fighting games ever made, not by SNK I will say, is definitely something worthwhile. And every once in a while people leave comments of saying, what is the point of this? We already have other ways to play it. And the point is somebody wanted to dedicate their time and energy to giving you new ways to play it. And in retro gaming, options are always good, and I will always advocate for them. This is why retro gaming is making a comeback recently, especially with new audiences, new and fun ways to play some of the most classic games ever made. And this is why decomp projects, static recomps, PC ports are all incredibly important, because if it wasn't for the decompilation project in the first place, you wouldn't have a PC port of Third Strike, and then you wouldn't have another developer, Demis in this instance, going ahead and porting that over to the PlayStation Portable. And there are some advantages to this. Obviously, if you just want to walk around with a PSP in your pocket, you can play Third Strike, and that's going to be incredible. But if you want to use PlayStation Portable emulation on something like a Steam Deck, you're going to get an incredibly good version of the game with a couple new options. Now granted, you can do stuff like use Final Burn Neo for Capcom CPS3, and I absolutely recommend that as well, but this is not emulation, it is native code running on the PlayStation Portable. So if you have a device that is low power, you might be able to run this where you couldn't actually run Street Fighter 3 Third Strike emulation, because don't forget, emulation will always have a bigger overhead on the system resources than playing a native code port would. And that isn't to say that emulation is bad in any way, shape, or form, it just always takes a little bit more horsepower to get the job done. But let's talk about the actual port in and of itself. If there is a stray pixel in the wrong place, if there is any sort of visual glitching or audio issues, I cannot see them and I cannot hear them. Now again, I will say I am not the best Street Fighter 3 player in the world. I definitely like the Alpha franchise a lot more, and Street Fighter Alpha 2 and 3 are my favorite games in the entirety of the Street Fighter franchise. And I grew up playing and still play a lot more King of Fighters and other SNK games, so the 4-button setup has always been what I gravitated towards more than the 6-button setup. What I can feel in a game, or not feel in this instance, would be any latency in the controls that would affect any of the input windows of trying to pull off moves. This port just absolutely has the feel that I need. Now again, I am not a professional player, so maybe someone who played this competitively might be able to feel something slightly off, so if you do play it, leave me a comment down below and you tell me how it feels. But for me personally, if Capcom had ported this thing back to the PlayStation Portable back in the day, I would say that the developer here did every bit as good of a job as an actual development team would have at Capcom offices. That is the highest compliment I can always pay to ports like this. If it seems to be exactly like what would have been done had it been packaged in a retail environment and sold to consumers, then you know damn well you have done an incredible job. And that is exactly what you're getting here with Third Strike on the PlayStation Portable, a version so good that it absolutely feels like a retail product. And that really is a fun time. And just so you know, I am using PPSSPP to play this, mostly for the ease of capture, because capturing real PlayStation Portable hardware is always a chore, never looks as good. So you can play this thing on real hardware, and the port is so good, you can emulate it and have an incredible time with it as well. And with the different filtering effects, you can even scale a lot of the resolution without getting those weird lines over top some of the actual assets that you might see in PlayStation Portable emulation. So it really is a best of both worlds situation. But go ahead and listen to the soundtrack for about 45 seconds or so you can listen to the audio quality, and I'll be right back with a lot more port fun. I mean, Street Fighter 3 Third Strike has always had an incredible soundtrack, and it's no different there, and maybe I am wrong here because, again, I am not a Street Fighter 3 Third Strike expert, but it felt like some of the actual voiceover from the characters may have been a little bit low there, but maybe that's exactly what it's supposed to sound like. It's one of those things, if it was a King of Fighters game, I would immediately know. And I always love asking you guys the questions as well, because it helps me glean information, because trust me, I know I can look up an original capture and understand whether or not that was the case, but I like to hear people's memories of it, because a lot of times what we remember might be different than the actual reality. But as far as the audio is concerned, it seems to be doing everything it should, and again, that soundtrack is so iconic. It sounds great coming out of the PlayStation Portable. And that really is the fun thing about this port. It just does everything it needs, nothing more and nothing less. And the fun part is, if you want to go ahead and play this on a handheld, you can of course play it on the Steam Deck with PPSSPP, but you can get the actual native PC executable running as well. And as far as the performance difference, I can't see one in any way, shape, or form, because this will actually use the higher clock speed of the PlayStation Portal to make sure it runs 100% at full speed, fully smooth with no issues whatsoever. And in my interaction with the game, in my capture of it, I didn't see a single instance of this running at anything other than 100% speed for what Street Fighter 3 would need. And that again is absolutely so much fun. And I totally get that still at this point in time, the CPS3 version would be considered the de facto best version to play as far as Third Strike is concerned. The reality is this port is going to get a lot of the improvements from the arcade side of things, at least if you talk to the people that are porting it over to the PC side. That is because when you do a decompilation project, you end up with the source code, and you do a code port from there, but having the source code means that you can change how the game actually functions. And I am not in any way, shape, or form, as I said earlier, a professional Street Fighter 3 Third Strike player, so I really don't exactly know all of the differences between the actual arcade release on CPS3 versus something like this port. I just know there are a couple different moveset changes and a couple balancing issues, but again, with the source code, those things could 100% be rectified, and you can end up with a PlayStation Portable version, a PC version that is every bit as good and even potentially better than the Capcom CPS3 original, and that would definitely be a fun time. Because trust me, if you actually want real CPS3 hardware, no, you do not actually want real CPS3 hardware. The thing breaks if you so much as look at it the wrong way, and getting it to a state where it actually won't do that. You're talking about $1,500 just to run one game, knowing that it won't break on you if you so much as even bump into it the wrong way or don't smile at it when you're walking by. All jokes aside, Capcom CPS3 hardware can be infinitely delicate, so having ports like this will definitely be a good thing in the long run. And honestly, just more ways to play a fun game are always going to be a good time, because nothing in life is essential. We could play the CPS3 version, or the game could cease to exist and we would all still be able to function in our lives. But if you're going to have fun, why not have all the fun in the world you possibly can? Import something like this to PSP. One more soundtrack sample, and I'll be right back with just a bit more. I mean, honestly, in my experience playing the PlayStation Portable port of Third Strike, I would say it's absolutely flawless. There is not a single thing I can see, hear, or otherwise feel in the controls, in the gameplay, in the graphics, or otherwise that would make me think it wasn't doing everything it should do. So Demis98, if you're watching this, you did an absolutely amazing job, and I'm sure there's going to be a lot of people out there that are very happy that this now runs on PlayStation Portable. And I know someone's going to leave a comment down below. When's the inevitable video port going to come? I have absolutely no idea, but I would expect that, because now that you're getting ports from the decompilation project of Third Strike, you have it on PC, you have it on PSP, and I feel like people are going to try to bring this to every single platform out there, and that is always a fun time. That is why I love retro gaming, and I love the retro gaming community. There's always something fun and new going on, and I absolutely love talking about it. But that's about it. If you want to try this one, I left a link to the GitHub in the description below. You need to bring your own legally owned copy of Third Strike, but otherwise, it's very easy to set up. Just follow the directions and you will be good. But short of that, we're done. Hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.